Hi, Ross Quintana here, and today we're talking about 5 reasons why digital-born businesses will dominate the future. So let me start off by defining what a digital-born business is. A digital-born business is a business that is started now in this time with this technology, with the mindsets and the understanding of the disruption and the technologies that really matter and drive business. I think what we're going to see is that's an entirely different organization than a lot of the businesses that are either originally a non-digital born business. A lot of these big brands have been around for 20, 50, 100 years. Okay? They were built with different thinking by different founders, and they've essentially tried to adapt and adopt and mash up and add on and remodel their businesses to kind of keep them current with the modern times. Where we see a lot of the talk about digital transformation, that is essentially saying, I'm going to take this old business and I'm going to try and convert it into a new business. Now understand, you can convert, you can add on some digital aspects and integrate some digital aspects, but a lot of times the model is still an old model. Right? Where do we see all of this disruption in industries? We see that because they're not trying to take an old model and then add some technology to it. They're changing the whole model and they're coming from a different mindset. And that's the difference from a digital born business and an old business that's trying to digitally transform and all of the kind of blends along the way. But there's a massive advantages to businesses that actually start in the digital mindset. And we're going to go over 5 of the reasons why I believe that they're going to dominate the future. And I think what we're going to see, and we've already seen it, I mean, you've heard the numbers about how many of the Fortune 500 companies have disappeared over the last couple of years. Normally, if you made that list, you were an established business. You were one of the best businesses out there. And a lot of this kind of industrial age thinking was like, if I build a big business and I scale it and I expand it and grow it and make it as big as possible and as many franchises and as much market share as I can, that's great. But what you're going to see is a dramatic shift in marketplaces, because a lot of those companies who are so big, too big to fail, that mindset comes out of this type of thinking. The problem is it's just not true. They've built the Titanic. They've built something that they can't shift and change. One thing we know about the future is it's going to shift and change more and more and at a faster rate. And these big companies, when you have 10 employees, you can have a meeting today and change your business. When you have 10,000 or 100,000 employees, you're not going to send out a memo and all of a sudden change your company culture to be able to actually execute in a business environment in the same way. So a lot of the struggle is happening. Now, I'm going to dig into the 5 reasons why digital-born businesses will dominate the future, and there's a reference, a piece of reference material that I think you'll be interested in too. It was done by Brian Solis, principal analyst with the Altimeter Group, and it's called the 5 W's of Modern Marketing. And there's an infographic. I'll leave a link to it. But one of the things that I really liked is it basically contrasted old way of doing marketing and new way of doing marketing, and essentially that's just on the marketing piece. I'm expanding that just one step further to talk about how businesses themselves, the structures, the marketing, everything still fits into that same category of old versus new. You have to think about these things, and you have to consider these things and understand that they're going to affect your business. If you're already in business, they're going to affect you. If you're an entrepreneur thinking of starting a business, they're going to affect you. So let's dig in. The first reason why digital-born businesses will dominate the future, and I think you're going to see a lot of big companies, massive amount of big companies go away, and markets splintered up among a lot of smaller companies. I think even the mindset that you're going to be the market leader and the dominant force, I think that's going to also go away and change to where it's going to be so fragmented. I don't think that you're going to see people trying to be the everything to everybody. I think with AI and personalization, you're going to see a lot of these things trying to work at scale. That's going to help the established larger businesses to be more nimble, but it's not a complete solution. And what we're going to see is we're going to see some smaller businesses really take advantage and drive revenue. And what's the point? What's the point in being essentially a bloated business? It's not about how big you can get, right? Because what happens when a little 10-person team can make as much money as the person that has 300 locations and 10,000 employees and billions in assets? They're massively bloated to make the same amount of money that this small group of people can make, and they can shift and move and do that. So you got to understand that that's the Titanic, right? I mean, if you're in a speedboat, you see an iceberg, you just turn around and go the other way, right? When you're on the Titanic, it's so much easier to be sunk. And so no matter how you spent all your time building the biggest boat and saying, look how grand we are and look how many rooms we have and all of that, but it's the size that ultimately ends up killing them because they're not agile enough. So let's dig in. Here's number one. Digital born businesses have a current mindset. They're not starting with old thinking, right? A business that was even digitally transformed is still an old business. Even if they've changed some of their models, it's still built on a lot of old things. And the problem is old is not gold when it comes to business, really. A lot of the things that, whether it's your company culture or you've got people who've been there forever, or this is how our business has always done it, or this is our brand and we have to stay true to it, and so that's going to limit us on what we're willing to do and how we're willing to shift. Like a new business doesn't have that. They get to come in and be current with the new technology, with new ways of thinking, understanding society today. And while these other companies are trying to catch up, they're starting there. So they get to stand on the shoulders of the market where it currently is and go forward. So having a current mindset is a major advantage because most of the people are just trying to catch up to current because they're so behind and they're not able to do it. Number two is there's no remodeling. See, the other businesses are trying to go back and remodel their business and add technology to it. Maybe it'll integrate. Maybe they're going to try and replace old technology they have, but that can create disruption. That can mess up their business execution. Or they try and make it a hybrid integration, and that's also difficult because the new isn't generally built to integrate with the old. And then even if you have that success, right, then you have the problem that you just have a shinier version of the old thing. Like, how long is that going to last before you're going to have to be changing that and changing that? So remodeling always costs you more, right? That's why when you see an office building, they just tear the whole thing down. They level the lot and they build a new one. Because trying to bring it up to code and see what they did wrong and it just costs more time and money than just doing it right with all the current stuff. So that's a big advantage. Having a current mindset, not being tied to the past in your thinking and in your business structure, and no remodeling, getting to build today, the foundation from today. The integration, that's how you built your business, so there's no issue with integration. The third thing is they get to start bold. So a startup gets to come in and, you look at Dollar Shave Club and how they built their brand, making kind of a silly YouTube video. Look, no major brand was going to come out and take all that brand equity that they had and their PR and then just totally go some new direction and do something. A lot of times they can't be bold because they're anchored down by their old. I know that rhymed on that. But that's the thing. And what that does is it reduces the type of things that you can do. So you can't experiment as much and you won't experiment as much and you can't be as bold. Well, in a marketplace where the market had their mental taste buds saturated, they've already had your product for a long time, the new thing's exciting. And most companies just can't be new. They're stuck being old. And so that's a major benefit. The fourth thing is future focused. When you look at the fact that you can only do so much as a business, right? When you're executing, you're operating. Let's say that you are on this hand, this is execution, this is today's execution, and you're running this business. A lot of businesses are trying to go back now, right? And get current They're back here, they're executing with old things, and they're trying to transform digitally to get to the new. And that transformation process is very disruptive. And it's like a heart transplant or a brain transplant in some situations. It's not often that they're going to succeed because it's such a major shift that there's so many things that can go wrong. And then when it's all said and done, right, it still may fail. That's where their business is. The digitally born business starts here, which means they have their extra resources, can be focused on looking into the future. So they're 2 steps ahead of the businesses that are just trying to digitally transform and get current. That's a big advantage. And it means that they're going to continually get to enjoy the spoils of the new things that the big businesses are not bold enough to do. They're busy remodeling, and they don't even understand because their mindset's based on old, trying to get current. The last thing is the digital born businesses can hire right. So a lot of times digital transformation is taking this technology and integrating it to your business, whether it's retrofitting it or it's a complete shift. The problem isn't the technology often. It's that the company culture, you got 10,000 employees and you can't get them all on the same page, and they're not all adopting it properly. Maybe they're not integrating it. Maybe they've got old way, they like doing it the old way. There's so many problems that happen that it's a company culture problem, it's a hiring problem. And you're not gonna, those businesses go, well, we've had Jan here for 25 years. We can't, she's not adopting this new stuff, but we still see so much value in her. The startup gets to come in and say, hey, look, we're current. Here's all the new technologies. Here's everything we're doing. Everybody they hire starts current and is able to look at current and future changes with ease. Meanwhile, the old businesses are trying to just fight with this interface to even get current. So those are the 5 reasons that when you look at the logistics of it and how it plays out, and then you magnify that and the problems that come with that as the business gets bigger and bigger, so do the problems in the integration to make a change. Then you start to see what a dramatic, it is an open ball field for new businesses to come in, digital born businesses to come in and just absolutely dominate. The old thinking that you got to be big to win, that's industrial age thinking, and that's just not the case anymore. New businesses, agile businesses can come in and really dominate. Check out the infographic. Don't forget to check that out on the old way of doing marketing and the new way of doing marketing from Buying Solus. I think that's a great illustration of how things are changing, how they have changed. Download that if you want to use that in a blog post or write about it. I know he'll appreciate that. I appreciate your time. If you loved it, love to hear your comments on how you think things are moving, anything that you found interesting in this as I broke it down. Love to get your feedback. Hit the share if you like it and comment, and I appreciate your time.